And we're live. Three, two. What movie is that from?
Wayne's World 2.
No, one.
What?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it's the second one when they're in the studio.
They are in the studio and it's when like the company bought Wayne's World and they're
Yeah.
making them do it. That's one.
Oh, is that the first one?
Yeah. We
Okay.
recently
Maybe.
watched that with the kids. It
Oh,
was
okay.
fantastic. Well, welcome back, you guys. Do that but better. And I am Zach with my brother Eric.
How's it going?
Very good. And just found out that your, I can't believe that your 10-year anniversary is coming up. That's
No,
pretty.
it's past. It was because it's the day before New Year's.
Oh,
New
that's right.
Year's Eve. Yeah.
That was, so that was your 10th.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
We came and did a workout at the gym.
That was, well, you should have told us. I would have had a special workout.
Hmm.
But yeah, how's your year been going so far?
Solid start. A busy start,
Hmm.
I
How's
think.
that?
But I think honestly, what's been coolest is um, we started doing the 1,000 hours outside,
Mm, yeah.
which we haven't been doing super hard because it's been like single digits here,
Oh, really?
which is rough.
Yeah.
Um, but it has just made me more conscious of like spending focused time with the kids and being able, I think a lot of times, especially because of the way Lisa and I both work from home,
Hmm.
it's easy to be like, if you're with the kids, I need to go do this. And then if I'm with the kids, you should go do that. But being able to just say, like, nope, everybody together, we're just going to have a dance party in the living room, like whatever it is.
That's
Um,
very cool.
I think having a more focus, a bigger focus on that. And I've been thinking, like, just saying yes.
Oh,
I
yeah?
think as a parent, it's easy when kids say, can you do this? To like default to no and then find an excuse why.
Yeah.
When really it's like, just do it.
Yeah. Especially when you're doing things at home. In fact, I'm in a more intimate setting here. I was gonna get into a bed. I thought that, but
Gets right up to here.
yeah, I was actually running around, and then I was like, I need internet right now.
Yep.
But yeah, it is very easy to um, actually. I've recently realized that my default is no, and that's for like almost anything. So, Natalie wants to um, do some work in our kitchen. We're actually thinking about taking that whole wall out, and we're opening it up. We had Mike.
Wait, like the wall where the kitchen or the refrigerator is?
Yeah, that's gonna be gone, and it's basically you're gonna open up, and it's gonna be like open wall from the front door to the back, and
Oh, nice.
kitchen in the middle. But she's made mention of that before, and I feel like when I am even just talking through things, somebody says something, and they're like this, and I'm like no, and I could even repeat the thing that they say and be like, this is how we should do it. But but it's no first, and this is how it should go. And uh, it is like my response to let myself start thinking about it.
Hmm.
And I almost think that I like in my head am thinking, let me think about how this works, or even will this work? Will this not work? But now I have to start going, okay, and then start thinking through it.
Yep.
But
Yeah, same thing. Like I feel like I'm very like critical, not in a negative way, but yeah, same thing. When someone gives a new idea, my first thoughts are like, what are the holes? Like, what are the potential problems with this?
yeah.
And if you say no, you're already like looking for reasons to not do it. But if you say
Hmm.
yes, then it's like, okay, we're going to do this. What are the potential problems that we have, or hurdles?
Yeah.
And maybe it ends up being a no, but you're starting from a place of like, okay, let's go for it. And then down the road, you can be like, well, actually, that's not going to work. Or actually, you know what? I thought I could do this, but we can't right now, or whatever. Give me 10 minutes and then we can do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway, that's my New Year's shift.
That's pretty cool. And really, that's something I need to start working on. Actually, when Natalie, so I had been talking about that with Natalie, like how, because she's like, you always shoot my ideas down, and she, on the other hand, always says yes. She's like, yeah, like I'm like, hey, what about this? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I wasn't ready for that. Now I got to do it. But so I was like, man, I gotta work on that. And so she's like, hey, we need to do the kitchen. I'm like, okay, like because for most of the time I don't even care. Like it's
Yeah.
like if we had a new kitchen or a not new kitchen, I'm like, what? So why would I ever say no if she wants to find how to make it work? You know,
Yep.
but yeah, but you know, actually, I'm going to tie this in to what our nutrition talk today.
Perfect segue.
Perfect segue. Um, you know, it's very easy to look at things and number one, go, I'm not going to do that. I am going to do that. And especially in the world of nutrition, there's so many headlines and studies like, hey, wine is good for you, so I'm going to drink a bunch of wine. And
Chocolate makes you smarter.
yeah, and hey, I'm not going to eat iceberg lettuce, and it's like, oh, for goodness sake, that's not the problem, right? And so now, like, starting to look at stuff and go, all right, how do I like, what are my goals, and how do I obtain them, and start saying yes to trying things out, and
Yep.
especially in the new year. So, new year, nutrition, boom. And
That
so
is solid. I
we
like
want
that.
we want some trition that's better. But yeah, so a lot of people have started things like 75 hard, and they're like, hey, I'm gonna do whatever diet for the new year. And by now, most people have probably stopped doing what they were seeking out to do. And I don't think that it's necessarily a loss. And hopefully, if you have stopped, you learn something pretty well from it.
Hmm.
But but it's like, hey, how do we make our nutrition really work for us for the things that we want?
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, I have been very guilty of this, is seeing something and like seeing the headline and whatever, the 5 minute video someone
Hmm.
did talking about how they did paleo or keto or whatever, and
Yeah.
then being like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that. And that's literally where the research stopped.
Oh yeah. I've
And I'm
done it.
like, yeah. And I mean, I imagine that most people who start something in January and fall off within the first couple weeks did the exact same thing. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to eat more vegetables. And so you ordered like a taco salad once. And you're like, yeah, I just didn't fit in. I didn't feel like you find reasons for why you weren't doing it, but it's really because you had no clue what you were doing.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll tell you what, I feel like Greg Glassman put it best with fitness in 100 words. And he said, eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, and keep intake to levels that support exercise and not body fat. And this is a super controversial thing, especially like if you watch people on the internet, when CrossFit ever puts this up, they blow it up. And there's multiple reasons for that. And so like number one is the line no sugar. And people are people come out with pitchforks as soon as you say that. And in
Their addiction is showing.
what's that?
Their addiction is showing.
Yeah.
It's
And
just like when I tell people that you shouldn't drink caffeine.
right. Well, wait a minute. What? I'm over here drinking coffee, and you shut your mouth. Uh, but the big thing with this is keeping it to to like no added sugar, and that's for most of the time, right? Is sugar going to kill you? No. And I think that when we look at either of these pieces, right? Eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, and then keep intake to levels that support exercise, not body fat. These are two pieces, and they're not without each other, right?
Yeah.
So like, the sum is worth more than the whole of the no, the whole is worth more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
That's how it's said. And starting out with eating whole foods, this is going to be so important for health, right? Getting the foods that you need, that they are nutrient dense, calorically sufficient for life, and things that you're not going to overindulge in as easy. And now we're setting ourselves up for long term health, right?
Yeah.
And now there was a big problem with this, and maybe like 2014, 2015, and I remember Eat to Perform came out. After CrossFit is saying like, hey, eat vegetables, paleo, like all these things, no refined grains, right? Or actually no grains in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, Eat to Perform is like, hey, these high level athletes in CrossFit, they need to eat a bunch of carbs. And all of a sudden, hey, they're eating 200, 300, maybe 400 grams of carbs, and they're performing really well, and their body composition is fantastic, right? They look like Greek gods, and they're like, hey, what's going on? Was this wrong, right? And
Yeah.
really, this is just that second part. Keep intake to levels that support exercise, not body fat.
Right.
And what we usually do as normal humans who uh, who exercise once a day for 1 hour, we go really hard, right? We go, dude, I need all these. I need 300 grams of carbs. I need 400 grams of carbs. I need to eat. What was that? Danny Spiegel's the cookies. She's like, hey, I lift heavy and I eat
Oh
cookies,
yeah.
and everyone's
Yeah.
like, dude, I need cookies. And it's like, did you lift that sandbag?
Right. Or froning with the giant tub of peanut butter in the
Yes,
car,
and
like everywhere he goes.
chocolate milk, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's breaking it down into these pieces, and it's like, what are my goals? What is my activity level? And I'll tell you what, I feel that 95% of people who walk into a CrossFit gym can perform really well with meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Having some potatoes as your starches, having a piece of bread, having like all these things, having some
Hmm.
rice, keeping it very very moderate, right? Using fruit for your carbohydrates, like all those things, and perform really well for the things that they're doing. And
Right.
one thing that I've seen that's been a big switch, even maybe in the last 5 years, is that people have decreased their level of activity in their normal life. I noticed this in myself, right? So just the fact, so in 2020, when I went from being a fireman to just doing the gym full time, and you go, oh, now you just work out all day. No, right now I'm on a computer a lot. I'm making phone calls. I'm writing emails. I'm like doing all these things, and I found myself getting like 3,000 steps in a day. And I was like, now I went and worked out, right,
Hmm.
and then did a lot of sitting, and it's like, oh man, where am I on the spectrum of keep intake to levels that support body exercise, not body fat? I no
Yeah.
longer am going and checking out my rig, walking around, like doing calls, even if I'm not at a fire, right? It was like I was walking around, cleaning the station, right? Going to
Right.
training, um, doing fire alarms where we hop in the rig, we drive there, we walk to the panel, we walk back. Those things aren't happening as much. And if we start looking at hey, where am I at on my daily physical activity? It's like, how much do I need, even if I'm working out really hard for an hour?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard because these things are so habitual. Like I know we've talked about it before that when I had the mindset of I want to make it to regionals,
Mm-hmm.
I'm lifting heavy every day, squat every day,
Mm-hmm.
plus like a full probably like a comp train session, and then maybe like the class workout,
Yeah.
and I was eating a ton. And
Yeah.
then I stopped doing that. And then I'm just doing the class workout each day. And
Mm-hmm.
then we move up here and I'm doing kettlebells on our small little patio balcony in our apartment. And I'm still eating the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. You got to rethink. And it's hard mentally to be like, but I need that much food. I won't
Yeah.
be full if I don't have it because it's totally in your head. And really,
100%.
like this, this stuff falls under um, needs vary by degree, not kind,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you're looking at those games athletes, they are plenty of degrees beyond anyone watching this right now.
Yeah.
And anyone, pretty much anyone walking into a CrossFit gym. And so they're doing 3 workouts a day. And I bet that their nutrition, if you look at their macros, because I guarantee that the vast majority of them are measuring out their food,
Mm-hmm.
that it is ratio wise, it's not going to be hugely different from most people in the CrossFit gym, but the amounts are way up because they've got a crap ton of muscle on their body
Mm-hmm.
and they're burning a ton of energy.
Yeah.
And so you don't need to eat the same amount of donuts as a games athlete who's doing a ton, but in proportion to what you're doing and where you're at, you're going to be getting the same amount, the
Yeah.
same percentage.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, even the amount that they're eating, even when they are um, supporting their exercise, it's often not um, great for long term health, right?
Right.
It is great for performance. um, and their body composition is probably going to be pretty darn good because they're eating for, like, so if they're performing really well, we know that for a CrossFit Games athlete, they need to be very strong. They need to have good strength to body weight ratio, right? Whereas a power lifter does not need to have. I mean, so yes, they do, but they don't need to move their body very much. They just need to move other things. So
Right.
they could be very big and move the most amount of weight because they have more weight. But if you still have to run, if you still need to do handstand push-ups and pull-ups and things like
Pull-ups
that,
and yeah.
your body fat has to be very low. So they're going to have all these things, and their body composition and performance is going to be high. Health is not necessarily at the peak when you're competing,
Yeah.
right? And now,
Yeah, and that's
go ahead.
you've got those 3 things you can focus on: health, performance, and aesthetics, body composition.
Yeah,
And anytime you put focus on one, the others suffer. So when you put the focus on performance, your aesthetics and health are going to suffer.
yeah, and even one thing when it comes to performance, and if you're doing multiple hours of hard stinking work all the time, uh, the amount that you're eating ends up being high, right? Well, this is lots of times where you start seeing things that you wouldn't necessarily be eating for health almost become a necessity. So
Yeah.
this is where Sam Dancer was big on eating Skittles, right? And other people talk about gummy bears during a workout and things like that. And they can get away with it, right? Whereas I might not be able to.
Well,
And
and I wouldn't even say get away with it. It's it does become a necessity because you can't, if you are, like I said, most of these guys are doing 2 or 3 workouts a day.
yeah,
They're spending all day in the gym. You cannot be chewing all day.
Right.
and you can't have a stomach full of food all day.
Right.
You need to be able to keep moving.
Yeah. Well, even so, even getting like I guess when I was saying getting away with it, yeah, it is a necessity, and it's not going to affect their health in the short term, including things like insulin levels and things like that. Which, if we're eating refined carbs, sugars, and things like that, if we're eating high amounts of those, which they may be, um, because of the work that they're doing, it's not going to affect them as much
Hmm.
in that short term. But they have shown that high sugar diets, whether you're exercising or not, are can be detrimental in the long term, even in the presence of exercise to support that.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for that long term health, we're looking at getting those whole foods first.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that to say, don't base your nutrition off professional athletes because you are not living the professional athlete lifestyle.
Yeah, it's sort of funny. Nobody watches NASCAR and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna put racing fuel in my car." But we look at especially when you got your like Ford Taurus and right, and then but we will look at it at athletes and go, "Dude, I need those shoes. I need that food. you know, this is what they do, and this is what I'm gonna do."
Yep.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. So when it comes to starting that uh, nutrition to support your body for health, for body composition, for performance, one of the biggest problems that I see is people going into a day with questions. Right? They go, "What am I going to have for breakfast?" I wasn't ready. Like, I woke up late. I whatever, and so I just had to grab something.
Hmm.
And the question comes up, what am I going to eat? And I can promise that if you are going into a day where you don't know what you're going to eat, there's going to be a problem because there's going to be convenience, right? There's going to be cravings. And so I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, lots of times I'll wake up and I won't have breakfast, and then I'm working, and then it's like, oh shoot, I need to grab something, and it's like, yeah, that's the problem,
Hmm.
right?" And Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every day because he wanted to eliminate questions, right? So take one decision out of your day, right? And you're going to be more productive. And the same thing happens with nutrition. If you go, what am I going to have for breakfast? And you go, I'm going to have meat and vegetables, or whatever it is, like whatever's getting you towards your goals, and whatever, now you can make it convenient. I have had the same breakfast for I don't even know how long. And so I'll have eggs with spinach, mushrooms, and zucchini, or some variation of that. Now, here's the cool thing: I do have variations of that, right? So, how many eggs, right? Am I having egg whites today? Am I having eggs? Am I having both? Am I having spinach and mushrooms, or am I throwing zucchini in today, right? And uh, but having plan A is great because then I can go off of it. But if your first plan is chaos, it's like I'm going to decide when I get there. You're in big trouble. And this is a very small step that you can take just by saying, "Hey, this is what I'm gonna have." Because guess what? Sometimes I'll even have some oatmeal, or I'll have an apple with peanut butter, and I'll put that in there too. But I had a plan. I didn't have to make that decision, and everything else is going to go pretty well. And you can
Yep.
do this with any of your meal, any and all of your meals.
Yeah, I know. I know I talk about this all the time. But the structure, like having a plan, it doesn't mean that you get zero decisions and that you have zero flexibility.
Hmm.
What it does is give you a path to start on.
Yeah,
And then you can call audibles all you want. But if you don't have that structure ahead of time, then there's no chance anything is going to happen.
yeah.
Right? Then it, like you said, then it's just chaos.
Can
Come
can
up
you?
with a plan, as boring as it is, as boring as you want it to be, and then you can change it along the way, but at least you had a starting point.
Can you imagine a football team walking up to the line of scrimmage without a plan and just go, we'll see what they do? It's like, no, you're coming up there with a plan. And if you're like, this plan is not going to work, you go, Blue 42,
Yep.
right? It's like you need to change it up now. But you had your best intentions first, and then you can adjust it and do most best
Yeah.
from there on. And that's one of the things I love about the description in Fitness in 100 Words. Right? It's eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Now you can start looking at your food, and you go to the store, you go to a restaurant, you go to anything. You've got a description, right? Is it meat? Is it vegetables? Is it a nut? Right? Is it fruit? Is it a starch? All right. Hey, I've got a good depiction, and guess what? It's not a prescription like, hey, I can only eat these things. Hey, I'm on the grapefruit diet. It's I only get a grapefruit. So now you already have a broad scope. Now you can even bring that in a little bit more, right?
Hmm.
Now we can start looking at what kind of foods do I want to eat? Like, are there things that I will eat, won't eat, right? And so now you took that description, made it a little bit. You're coloring it in a little bit more. Hey, maybe I
Hmm.
don't eat pork. Okay, good. Now when you look at the menu, is there is there a meal with pork? Not having that one, I just narrowed it down a little bit more, and I've got my plan.
Yeah.
Now, once if you are eating whole foods, you're eating your meat and vegetables, and now we get into tracking, and one of the biggest problems that I've seen with tracking again is the lack of plan, right? And actually, to be honest, sometimes it's how to track. I've talked to so many people. They're like, "Hey, I'm tracking all my food on my Fitness Pal," and it's like, "All right, let me see it." Right? And it's like, protein. They're minus like 70 grams of protein, and their carbs are over by 80, and their fats are over by 50. Right? And it's like, oh shoot, yes, you are listing them. You're listing all the things that you ate, and to be honest, that's a great start.
Yeah.
Just knowing that, hey, this is what I'm eating. Now you can start taking an inventory and go, what do I need to do here to actually get to my goals? And when you start tracking, now we're trying to hit our protein, carbs, and fat um, accurately to support exercise and not body fat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you are tracking that way and you're way off your targets, but you're being honest with what you're putting in,
Hmm.
that is the biggest step.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, for anyone trying to start this out, be as honest as you can be. Because most people will, take a handful of M&Ms and be like, it was just like a little bit, or like, oh, let me just have a bite of that, but I'm not going to track it. Or it was something that I ate while I was cooking, so I didn't have time to put it in, and that
Yes.
is what screws you over.
Those are what I call stand-up calories.
Yeah,
And as long as you're not sitting down, they don't count. They don't have to go in.
I pretty much only eat standing.
Oh man, you need to eat more.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So making sure that now you have a accurate depiction of like, hey, how is this affecting me, right? And um, so finding, hey, how much protein am I getting? How do I find how much protein, or like how do I find those foods that are going to give me the most protein, the most whatever. And the cool
Mhm.
thing about this is, especially when you're looking at health, right? This is going to be through whole foods. Now you can start using other things. Somebody brought up the other day PB2, like the peanut butter powder, and so
Yeah.
you're getting protein without the fat and the carbohydrates that might be in peanut butter, but you still get the peanut butter taste. And actually, somebody was asking, like, is that the right way to do it? And it's like, it depends, right? Is your goal health, right? Are you trying to get protein? Are you looking for performance? right? And lots of times these supplements and things like that are a great way to really dial in certain numbers on your macronutrients.
Yeah.
If you're looking to just be healthy, it's like you don't need to, right? Again, when it comes to food, the whole is worth more than the sum of the parts, and so it's like, hey, eat these real foods. And now, if you're really looking for body composition, you're really tracking down to each calorie. Some of these other things are going to be really beneficial, like protein powders and the PB2, or even like we were talking about Skittles and and gummy bears. This can be really beneficial for performance, and just know that we've got our three chains, and it's like
Yeah.
which one are we moving towards, and is that exactly what we're looking for right now? And any result is right, or any decision is right, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I think just for real world application is
Hmm.
really where those supplements come in. Because, like you said, if you don't have a plan or if you have a super busy schedule, convenience is what takes over.
Hmm.
And if the most convenient thing is the vending machine, that's what you're going to do. If the most convenient thing is PB2 that's already in a shaker bottle in your desk drawer,
Hmm.
that's what you're going to do. So if you've got, whatever your schedule is going from one job to another, where you only have a limited amount of time, or a teacher in between classes or whatever it is, like that's where those supplements really come in handy so that you know what you're actually getting and you're not falling prey to the convenience.
Yeah, yeah, and now they're planned.
Yeah.
Like this was your plan, and you go, all right, I'm getting the things that I need. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think when it comes to um, stepping into nutrition, is it's like start very simply, and make sure that you're getting the foods that you need in. And so it's like, all right, am I getting the nutrients from my whole foods, right? You can start looking at what is going on, like what kind of results am I seeing? Am I feeling better? Like, do I have energy? Am I getting the body composition that I want? Right? Am I performing well? Even just like energy, handling your family, you know, it
Yep.
this can be super important. I mean, everybody's heard of like the hangry, and you know, it's like, all right, well, get the stuff in that makes you feel really good, and makes you perform really well, and then you can start looking into, all right, how do I optimize this? And the keep intake to levels that support exercise, not body fat. This is where you push into fitness, and this is like on our grand scheme of sick, well, and fit. We're pushing the needle farther, where your doctor goes, dang, what is going on, right? And not only that, now we are, yes, you might be performing even better in the gym, right? But your body might just be performing better in life. And now we have a hedge against chronic disease. We need to get all the way back to well before we get to sick. And this is what we're really pushing towards when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to exercise, with CrossFit. It's like, how can I keep pushing the needle a little bit farther so that I can do that but better, right? And the farther we are, the farther we are away from the things that we don't want. The high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, all those things. And we can do that by weighing and measuring, and bringing some precision and accuracy to the things that we're already doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to mention like the longevity, because there is a point in life where that needle starts going back for everyone.
Hmm.
And so the farther over you can get it toward fitness, the longer you have in life of being well.
Right. Yeah. There we have it. But yeah. So start with the whole foods. Move into like, if I'm doing that really well, now we can start tracking again and going, hey, um, this is the results that I'm getting. This is how I'm feeling. Can I make that a little bit better? And then test and retest, right? Look at health markers, look at physical markers, whether it's weight or body composition or pictures or pull-ups. Any of those things are going to be a determinant on, is what I'm eating um, making me better?
Yep.
And just know that it's going to change throughout your life with the amount of activity that you have, the amount of sleep that you're going to get, the amount of stress that you have, the amount of work that you're doing. All these kind of things are gonna change. And once you have these tools, now you can use the tool for the job and keep adapting it to what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you're needing any help, we are running a 8-week course, and so this is not a challenge, right? So what this is building your eating habits, learning how to shop and cook and prepare whole foods, so that you have the base and you're able to start working into, how do I measure my food? How do I accurately prepare my foods so that I can set up my meals? Finding out how much food should I be eating? How much does a portion look like? Getting recipes, talking to a coach, and setting up your goals, and slowly moving so that when you are done over these 8 weeks, not only are you eating the foods that you need to, also setting yourself up to be able to weigh and measure on your own and be able to adjust so that you feel comfortable in any situation, in any what is it called, like something of life, like uh,
Season,
any
phase.
season of life. Yes. But yeah, so yeah, reach out to us. So it's in our link in bio on Instagram. You can reach out to me, Zach at CrossFitChicagoHeights.com, or anywhere at CrossFit Chicago Heights on the internets. Yeah, that will be starting on February 6th.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
All right, Eric, I will see you next week,
Sounds
and
good.
I hope you eat well. Nutrition.
All right.
All right,
See ya.
see you later.